it's been quite an interesting week, a week where we've had a lot of things happening in the country and beyond. We've seen people being killed. We've seen the president reading a riot act. We've seen a blackout when the president is speaking. It is this country, Kenya. And beyond, Trump is almost going to win an election. But before I introduce the esteemed panel, we have a guest. We have a new friend who has just joined us. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My good name is Kagondo Jr., a counseling psychologist, and also an author of an amazing book called Becoming a Man. And the question is, are we not men enough? Okay, and we are just trying to look into, fill into that gap, helping men to gain a lot of self-awareness so that they can play out their part in the right way. In fact, when you heal a man, you heal the world. And some of the issues that we've seen out there, if we're able to sort out ourselves, CEO and I, then our families will be sorted, our society will be a good place, and we'll have such a beautiful life. And asante sana. Yes.
And of course, our usual ladies and the most beautiful Maria. Tell us something.
I am Maria Nyambane Waweru. I'm fascinated. I think we need this. We need to change the society with this. I'm also an author. Marriage is a Scam and Love, the original you. Today, I feel like even the energy in the panel can be felt. I am so happy to be here.
And the businesswoman extraordinaire, love maker.
I'm not all love makers.
That's a good one.
You mean the matchmaker?
Oh, yes. But you make...
We all make love.
We all make love, but I'm a matchmaker. That leads into... so Samantha wines. Yes, I became a winemaker, and I'm a taste maker also.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you hook up people also.
Yes, I do. Well, not in that way. I match make people.
Okay.
But I want to say something. Okay, last week we had this promo. You tell us where your love story and where you spent your Valentine, and you stand a chance to win. It's still going on. Make sure you have a bottle of the wine in all the shopping. Chandarana, Carrefour now. It's available, all the places. But I want to say something. I'm happy that you're joining us, and I like your book. You'll give me some.
Sure thing.
Well, we need to buy some.
Yes.
But I want to say something. I don't know if men realize that you guys are actually going to be extinct. This is the rationale. Like, if you don't style up, if you killed all the women in the world, do you know you would actually all... But if you kill all the men and leave just one man, the human race would continue.
Yes.
Are you aware?
Very true.
With just one man, the human race would continue. So do you see the balance of really, truly, you guys, unless you style up, you're at them?
Yeah, very true.
That is the bitter truth.
Daktari, you are talking as if you are planning to murder all of us.
No, I'm just saying the man, our boy child, is really in danger, and unless we do something, you will just disappear, and the world may actually not realize that you've disappeared, because just the human race will continue even with just one man remaining, and therefore we may not really realize that there is a problem.
So you're just saying that men can be substituted, of course, because of technology and all that.
No. And it's already happening, like in China, for example, China and India, when they would look at the fetuses in just before giving birth. If it's a girl, they finish, abort until it's a boy. Now, in China and in India, there's a problem. The men cannot find wives.
Let's start with the topic of today. Anyway, I'm your host, CEO Charles Otieno. Let's move on to these beautiful topics. The first topic I want us to discuss, ladies and gentlemen, is this over Valentine's Day. Two things happened. The first one is an Indian man was murdered, and I've always known that if you look at the Asian society, their murders or their fallouts is either between is a romance or it's about business. They don't have issues with the land in Kenya or issues of inheritance. For theirs is very categorical. And I thought probably is a friend who murdered this man only to realize that the wife was also taken in. And it seems that there was like a love triangle there. That is one. And, last week also we saw a man throwing another lady out violently out of a car, a moving car. It reminded me of an incident which happened a few years ago at Westlands, where a famed politician threw out a woman out of the car and was found dead, a university student. Bwana Kagondo, what do you say about these incidences?
Yeah, you know, it's quite sad, you know, to have such incidences happening time and again. And it's a true indicator of where we are as the human race, okay? And I'm happy, you know, when Doc talks about the issues to do with men, especially if we really don't take care. And out of those incidences, you can be able to pick a lot of anger issues. And this is where we say that most of us may not be in a position to really manage our emotions in the right way. Remember, we as human beings, it's very important for us to be in a position whereby we are in charge of how we feel and how we do project. But that said and done, there could be other matters and all that. Talk about the business deals gone sour. And this is where we also need to be very sober when it comes to even respecting, you know, life, okay? Because life is so precious. And it doesn't mean that if I'm with my sister here and we are doing a book and all goes waywire, that I really have to get to a point of getting to harm her. That shows that we don't have respect for human life, which is so precious, and this is why we need to sober up as human beings. What do you think?
You know, I don't think there's anything that justifies throwing someone out of the car. But according to how people are talking, people are actually, you know, we always run into blaming the victims. If she was refusing to come out of your car, if I was that guy, I would drive you to the police station and tell them, okay, she's refusing to come out of my car. Like, there are so many measures you could have taken instead of throwing someone out of a car, risking their lives no matter what they had done. Because a lot of people are, maybe she refused to do this, maybe she did not, maybe she did something wrong to you. There's that. There's also the fact that someone plots for the husband to be killed. Okay, first of all, there's a discussion that I had in the morning of, can you start from scratch with a man? A lot of women argue, you start from the scratch, they get up there, they change. Now we have love triangle issues. We no longer have business meetings whereby we need to grow our family. Now we have issues whereby because you have the money, you can do whatever you want. And we'll blame this on mental health when nowadays that's what we do. We just blame everything on mental health because we can't handle our emotions. But in real sense, do we assume that whatever, like this, we know already the country is suffering, the society is suffering in general, people have issues they are going through. Are we going to assume that they did it out of love triangle or they did it because of a business gone sour? It could be these people are like, we've gotten to a point whereby we don't know how to walk out anymore because of the pain that we've been through to walk in and stick. By the virtue that we walk in, we struggle together, we stick. Now walking out becomes an issue. Human beings lack that strength of, I'm walking out from the efforts we put together, from the struggles we had together, from the family we created. Now they feel like it's either you or me, which is wrong in all essence, but it's happening. We have gotten to a point whereby we should be telling ourselves it is wrong, but it's happening. So be careful.
Dr. C.
Well, yeah.
Maria has captured people have fear getting out of relationships.
It's called the sunk cost fallacy in business. Where you're looking at, you can see this business is actually not making money or giving me the profits, or is no longer fulfilling me, yeah, in a business sense. And which can also, you can translate it now to a relationship sense. But you're like, after all the money I've put in, after everything I've put in, and this is what happens even in relationships. You met this guy, he had nothing. And it's very difficult for very many people to think of becoming poor again, seeing that you have to divide everything halfway, and or you actually have to walk out with nothing. Because right now the laws, the way they are, unless you can prove you contributed, cooking for a man, by the way, is not enough.
It's not enough.
Yeah,
so a lot of people, yeah, become bitter. And it's not just men alone, even women are. So that is one of the things. But the other thing is, I think, the causes you have talked about. But I think it's a high time in marriages people begin to think about how are you setting yourselves up. I heard you say Trump is almost getting in. Mm-hmm. In one of the books he actually wrote, he talked about why, because a lot of marriages fail, and you're halfway, whether you like it or not, you're going to disagree. Mm-hmm. So why would you get into business or into something with somebody whom you know 50% of the time it's going to fail? Mm-hmm. So people need to actually think about that. But about this man who threw the woman out of the car, I think it's just a sign of the times we are living in. There's this issue of the War Memorial Hospital going on. 6 court orders have not been obeyed. So this guy thinks, utanipeleka wapi? I'll just throw you out of the car. Of the car. After all, I don't know whether to, it's not the judiciary or who it is, yeah? Utampeleka wapi? Where will you take them? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why we need to really, the sanctity of the court order, the sanctity of our court system, whether it's criminal or it's commercial, whatever it is. When you have court orders not being obeyed, it just becomes a lawless society. And people feel they can just get themselves out. Yeah. Out of this issue. You have somebody walking out of a police station completely out of that. Utapeleka wapi watu wengine. He's so, it's a sign of the times. Okay. I could transplant it into that. What do you think?
I think you've captured it very well, that if you look at these two scenarios, and I was really concerned about this Indian case, because I've looked at it in depth and I've realized that if you want to cheat, do you really, because what we are getting, the insight is that the man they were not intending to kill the man, but the wife just wanted to discipline the man with the boyfriend. So the boyfriend goes a notch higher, kills the guy, and even burns the body in sulfuric acid. So
that was the boyfriend?
Yes.
Not thugs?
No, it was a plan. It was a love triangle.
Oh my God.
So I'm just wondering, relationships are deeper, and you live with someone, because when the investigation officers went, they thought probably this is no more crime. And of course you suspect the woman is clean, there is nothing. Then you realize that there are traces of blood in the house as well. So apparently this man could have been killed in the house by this woman's
boyfriend.
Yes, and then transported to a secret place and burnt with an acid. How deep can this be in families? The rift is what I don't understand.
You know, looking at this, it shows the depth of what we are saying, that we don't have the human aspect the humane aspect in us. Yes. But I'm also thinking of this, the survivor stroke the victim in the different scenarios. For me to get to such a space where I find myself being thrown out, there must be a story, okay? And I also say that we also have a stake at it, and especially where we allow some things to happen. And I'm not saying this in disregarding, you know, this particular lady or this particular man, but we have found the battered woman syndrome, you know, people conforming in such abuses in the name of probably they have done me some favors and I can't really walk out, okay? And if I'm not wrong, in the Asian community, the culture, you know, the way that we get into a relationship, it will be totally different from, say, the African way of going about it. I understand, even the ladies, they will pay the dowry, you know, for the man. So that means this particular lady may also be entitled. And this is where we are saying, if I was to find myself in such a scenario, there are always those red signs, you know, warning signs, telling you that this is not okay. But why do we have to stick there? Remember, most of us are looking for approval. Most of us never got to be appreciated. We have faced a lot of rejection, say, as young ones, all right? And this is where I want to get glued to my partner to such a level, even if they abuse me, I don't have the energy to walk out. Why? Because this is not what I'm used to. Remember, most of the people out there, there's a lot of insecure attachment. Why? Because they don't have an option out of it. If you're telling them to walk out, then what next? Probably this is a person who has been, fending for them, taking care of the bills, and there's always that fear. If I walk out, then I'm left alone. And most of the clientele that come to me, when we are exploring options and all that, you ask them, why haven't you made such a decision? And the answer is always obvious, if I go, where will my kids, where am I going to get the rent? So many of these people, they may be helpless in a big way, all right? And especially in such a space whereby they are not empowered. And this is why we do advocate, for people to really get empowered, both the men and the women, because here we can't play the gender card, yeah?
No, you can't.
So it's always good that we be empowered in such a way. Unajua anasema, wewe I can't live without you, okay? But it's always good that we love ourselves first, and of course, be in a space whereby we can be able to make some informed decisions in regards to such abuses that we have.
I always say that before you even say that if I walk out, what will happen to me? Ask yourself, if the person dies today, what will you do? If you ever ask yourself that question, you realize that you will always, it's not even about walking out. Things happen. We are human beings, we can lose our lives. It's about, if right now I'm not with you, not in terms of we have an issue or it has ended, it could be in terms of you lost your life, or you became disabled to a point that you can't do what you do, or maybe your health condition put you in bed for 2 years. It doesn't mean that the kids will go hungry. So I feel like we're in the society whereby you need to think harder and ask yourself. It's not about it did not work and I walked out. It's about what if something happens to either of us? How will this family continue?
Maria, I thought you'd say, love the original you.
Love the original you.
I think we move to the next topic.
But how can people deal with the sunk cost fallacy?
Sunk cost fallacy?
Yeah, in relationships.
Not business now, Doctor.
No, it's, you see, there's one issue, and I think a lot of women and a lot of men are dealing with. The fact that they've put that, perhaps they've built a certain life together. And now that you have, somebody wants to walk away, or the man is in another relationship, and or maybe they're bringing in another wife, which I always tell women, leave. I think I even talked about it. So how should women or men deal with that?
Even before we get to what we should do when we find ourselves in such a space, this should be something that we look into way before even we get into marriage, okay? Because at times we get so attached and, we get enmeshed together that I forget that I'm supposed to live my own life, all right? And this tells you we get into relationships for different reasons. Some, it will be circumstantial. Maybe I got some lady pregnant, and out of that, then I'm just required to get into some marriage, all right? And that tells you that we have not agreed on a number of things. And this is why, before you even get to say, I do, all right, we have to think about that unfortunate time, all right? Because many are the times that we are caught off guard, and we are not even really prepared, for the eventualities that might occur. We have seen that we have lost a marathoner, Keptum. The question is, how does the wife get to move on? How does the family? You heard about the father even talking about this was my only son, meaning that there was a lot of hope in this particular situation, and especially with his son. And for him, he's feeling so helpless. And this is why we need to also make our own life, even before we get into a relationship or even marriage. And this is why we say that even when we are doing the pre-marital counseling, it's very important for us to even do the post-marital counseling. And as a person, I also need to be in a space whereby I can also empower my partner. Why? Because in most cases, there's a lot of insecurities as men, whereby if we see...
We give too much freedom.
Yes, if she gets empowered, then she might walk out or even get to see another person out there. And what we do, there's a lot of suppression. And this is where we are saying, as an individual, we also need to work on okay? And especially with the personal empowerment. But then, if I see my sister is in a space whereby a lot of abuse is taking place, I need to be a resource to her, all right? Even if it is my brother, because you know, we also our biggest enemies, especially in our circles. If I see my brother being beaten up, or he sees me being beaten up by my spouse, what do? We laugh at each other, and we are saying, he's not a man enough. Yet, we are supposed to be the link, you know, to where they can be able to get support. Therapy is equally important so that you're able to see the bigger picture, because some of us think that without this particular spouse, without my partner, there's no life. My life has come to an end. Yet, the world is so big. There are so many opportunities out there. So empowerment is key, and let's be each other's support system.
Well, I think you've captured it.
I think we're in therapy.
Am I the one to
Yes.
the next? What is the story?
I think we're in therapy.
What is my story about? Oh yeah, what am I supposed to do?
The black man who married.
Yeah, the British guy.
No, I think, oh my goodness, it happens. Even to the best of us.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, like you can forget. So I forgot what my story is supposed to be. But
Yes.
I have remembered. It is supposed to be about this British man, army man, who got himself in trouble in a bigamy situation. He was apparently married in London, England, Britain, and he's here in Kenya, and he meets this young lady, Swahili. Wakacheza chakacha, and now they got into a marriage. And now the first wife heard of it, and she's accused him, taken him to court for bigamy. And in his defense, he's like, he didn't even know that was a wedding going on. He didn't know he was getting married. He confused it on the language he said on the language barrier. He could not hear it, and he didn't think it was a marriage. Okay.
Why are you, Maria, what are you saying?
There are people who can lie. People who can lie.
Fear men, eh?
Fear men. We go to churches that speak vernaculars that we don't understand. You'll go to and then there's a translator. You cannot participate in something as big as a marriage and then blame it in Swahili. And I am very sure, being that personally I got married legally, I know how those documents look like. They're not technically written all in Swahili. Unachukua huyu, no. There is English somewhere. You must know. This man is lying. He knows he's in trouble and he's finding a way to get himself out of it. And if he wins this case, then I think he's the most creative person. We need to have him do something bigger for the world, because that is a lie. Another thing is he knew he was married in London. So he came here he's lying. That's the only thing I can say. He's lying. He's a liar.
On a lighter note, I think the lady did some pretty good job, yeah? And this is some real African woman, you know, the African queen, okay? Amechanganisha mzunye mpaka
ajui Kiswahili. Amechanganisha akasahau Kiswahili.
But it's a true picture of someone who also is playing some cards. Because in the real sense, you can't tell me that I'm getting into some sort of ceremony and I really don't understand what is happening. Of course, you have your buddies around. You have made some friends, okay? But the interesting part is the differences in the culture. Okay, in African culture, there are some communities that will allow 2-3 wives. Talk about the different faith or even religious practices. You allow 2 or 3, but for them, it's totally different. But what I get to understand, he was in the midst of, you know, some divorce process. It's only that they had the whole process had not seen the light of the day. And according to them, you know, you have to have that pen down for you to be allowed to get another wife. But it's quite a true picture of what we have in the society, whereby someone may be in the know-how and especially getting to understand, you know, exactly what is happening, but because they also have their own personal motives or even, you know, their own motive, they want to entertain someone, and out of it they find themselves fixed up. So to me, that would be a big, if not a fat lie, that they understand what was happening.
I think this is, you see, when I look at that guy, the guy is Fijian. Fijians are black as us. And I've always said, in this show before that the biggest problem we have is that the black people try to follow laws and rules which are not actually inherently theirs.
Thank you.
Our cultures are so different. You see, this thing they are calling in Europe bigamy is so different from us.
Exactly.
And it's too far from an African person. If you want to marry, this man went to Nairobi, he's a sergeant in Nanyuki, got a girl, got married. And he actually included her name in the list of beneficiaries. I do not see anything wrong, and I've always told the white men out there, there's nothing wrong in polygamy. They should accept in their culture that not all men can be monogamous. Dr. C, you always tell us even one cock has very many hens around her.
Me, I have a different view. Mimi nakuangalia tu.
Hata mimi sijakubali polygamy.
So my argument is that yes, the man is in that situation, but it is high time the European nations, we have to also tell them that they need to change their laws. No country has a uniformity of culture. There are Muslims in England or in UK. There are Hindus there. You will not force them to marry one wife. The same way we have accepted the fact that in Kenya you can be monogamous, you can be polygamous, and we always say we do not want this thing called LGBTQ.
Yeah.
And then they want to champion it. You see, we are from different backgrounds. So you cannot force this man, who is black in descent, to follow the ideals of what he is not bestowed to be.
First off, I have to agree one thing with you, that actually even in the Bible itself, there is nowhere where it says
Marry one wife.
you must marry one wife.
Yeah.
And in fact, when you look at the history of marriages, why even the government got interested in marriages is because if they can control who marries who, at that time there used to be very many kingdoms. You can control who wins which war. And right now it's good for the statistics. That's why the government got involved. However, that was historically. But however, on this particular issue, I think it's just a legal issue. And I see there's a lot of confusion, even in Kenya. So it's legal such that if me and you get into a contract where the contract clearly says that you cannot, me and you are married and we are in a monogamous relationship, and until this relationship either separated by death or by divorce, we are still going to be in this relationship. So when you go on and marry another wife, and there's a law, we are just talking law, whether it's Africa, wherever it is, and by the way, even in Kenya, we have that law, where once you marry, as under that law where you're saying it's a one-man relationship, you cannot then go on and get into another legally binding relationship in that way. But the goodness with our law, it allows you, at the point when you're getting married, especially with the traditional marriages, to say whether it's going to be a single or you want it open. And that one you can marry many wives. So in Kenya today, if you go and get married in the church and you sign the single monogamous relationship, and then you go and marry another wife in another legally binding relationship, you are in bigamy, and you will just face the same consequences. So in his case, I think it's a legal thing. And I see a lot of people confusing that, in Kenya you can marry in church and then you can just go. It's just that people are not really going to enforce and doing whatever they're supposed to do. But yeah, it's true. The human nature, the male, is wired to go everywhere.
Yes, and gets...
But you know, the reason why marriages became, having that document became important, it's when corporates and companies started asking for the marriage certificate for them to give you insurance. In the past, you would have those 2 wives, 3 wives, nobody cares, it's okay.
No, there used to be a care. Legally, there was a care. People cared about it. Like you have one wife, You will not go and get into another
relationship,
contract. Because then you'll have violated, you'll have broken this law. It's a law. Okay?
But they were avoiding the contract too.
I will tell you how actually marriages, the governments all over the world, it's nothing to do with insurance. They only got interested.
Because
do you know that in the past, you would actually just sit the two of you and agree we are getting married, and for as long as there is a witness, it will be a marriage. All over the world, even in my father's days, they used to be married by capture. I think even with his first wife, the way he married, you just get your boys will capture a girl, put her in that Simba.
So true.
Yeah, and then the mother will be told, oh, there's a girl who is there in the Simba. And then the next day, because now the girl has already, they wait until how many moons pass. By then, you go and hide. That's where the honeymoon came in. By that time, she's already pregnant. You're just coming to ask for either dowry, or you're coming to ask for, or it's war. And that's why there's even groomsmen. And that's why even even in the churches, the way people sit on the right and on the left, which side is for the girl, which side is for the man. The groomsmen are supposed to help the man fight, not just in Western marriages, but also even in Africa here, you have your boys. Because if that family does not want your girl to be married in that family, there would just be complete total war and they would destroy everybody. And so the governments got interested in marriages because of statistics, because of controlling who is marrying who, especially in the time of Napoleon. In fact, for you to understand this, there's this movie that was done the time when popes used to be allowed to marry, the Borgias. Who has watched that movie called The Borgias? There was this girl called Lucrezia. Lucrezia was married off to so many men, including even Napoleon himself. So we want to go and kill that, conquer that nation. We would, including King Henry himself. And that's why the Church of England separated from the Roman Catholic Church, because the Church of England wanted to allow divorce, and King Henry could not be allowed to divorce Catherine because he wanted to marry one of the Boleyn sisters. And I'm referring to the Western culture because we adopted.
Yes.
Our laws are completely, it's just a British law. We've just been changing it a bit.
And the way I have a problem is exactly that.
Yes.
I have a serious problem with the British system. And you see, Dr. C, what you're saying, it's all good and all well. That's why those first world countries today, because they have said every man to marry one wife, they have a problem of labor.
And population.
And population. When you have one system which you think will fit the whole humanity in your country, the world is not designed like that. If you go to Japan, the retirement age, they are thinking of pushing it to 80 because there are no people in 20s to work and 30s. If you go to Italy, you go to Central Europe, they don't have a workforce below 50.
That's why we should export. That's why our president is working so hard.
Before we get exported, can we please take a short break and then we'll be right back on.
Welcome back. Of course, Dr. C is still making some noise about marriage, bigamy, business. Marriage is not a business. But anyway, let's
that's where you're misinformed.
What is it?
It's a business.
Huh?
Yes.
It's not love?
It is love. It's the business of love.
Actually, yeah.
You know, this is where people get this thing wrong. It's not the story, but you know, we have to talk about that.
I knew how to get that.
This is where people actually get this thing wrong because, especially in Africa here, it used to be marriage by introduction.
Yes.
You go, you send somebody, you check that family. Do they have people who have, I don't know what kind of diseases? Are they criminals? Can they really look after our daughter? And then you find some girls here in Nairobi, or some men, just saying, we'll just even go to the desert and we'll just live there. surely.
Eat what?
Surely. I will just eat dust.
No, I feel like the introduction of infatuation and lust just leads them to things
Well,
without
the
even
marriages
thinking.
that are actually lasting are marriages where people have been introduced and it's the whole community that is actually getting married. So by the time you think, I'm coming back home, to whose home?
Who's home?
Okay.
Okay, what have you done to so-and-so's daughter? You stopped mistreating them. It is the whole community.
Okay, let's link that story with that.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Let's now go to another story. I know this one you also
I
passionate
agree,
about.
you're passionate.
You're passionate, and let's move on. 21st February, actually it's February, oh I've confused. 21st February is multilingualism day.
And that's my birthday, actually.
Wow.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. This is water, by the way.
No.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy
On 21st.
birthday. You know what? It's 21st has passed.
It has passed.
Where is my mind this morning?
So anyway,
This
we are
evening.
actually encouraging people to embrace their cultures and the social, everything that comes with that mother tongue is very important. But we also know that according to what we see right now, cultures are really, like, we see a lot of people don't even know where they come from, who they are, even to the lowest, which is called their tribe. And as we honor that day, is it even possible in this era?
Well, I'll start. First of all, I'm of the opinion that unless something is done, if you come back to this country in another 100 years, there will be no tribe. Okay? That said, the people who've gone before us, they even said, "Achai kimila ni mtumwa." Mwacha mila ni mtumwa. I really think that it's the differences among us that really make us who we are. Yeah? And that when we lose our mother tongues, we have completely lost who we are. Because for me, I'll speak about me personally. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, my great-grandmother in the village, and I know a lot about culture. And I usually, my point of reference on things is that if there is a Luya word to describe a certain situation, then for me it really gives me that, well, this is not normal, this is normal. And by the way, talking of LGBTQ, we used to have wasumbas. So they are called wasumbas. Yeah? So these people were always there in our society. It's not like a new thing. Yeah? I'm not answering the question of whether it's right or wrong, but there was that issue. So when you have anything that is described in your language, then you know it was always there. So I'm passionate about people not forgetting their language. And it's very easy that, you know, today in Kenya, you can do a PhD in Swahili, you can do a PhD in English. So why at home, why don't we teach our children Luya? You know, call me, I'm not tribalist, but I insist on employing Isuha, Luya, but Isuha, house girls, because then my daughter, the first language written on her brain is Luya. Because I think no matter where she goes in the world, she understands, she comes back. Even with the food, I tell her, yesterday we ate omena, which by the way, I really love. And I tell her, this is the food that your ancestors have survived on. That's what you are here because there's like almost 4,000 people behind you who survived. And this is the food they survived on, so you eat it. Eat that food. And that's how we'll not forget our traditional foods. That's how we'll not forget our culture. I think it's sorry that we are forgetting our culture, and I don't know why it has been removed in schools.
That's it.
In village schools, yes. In 844, there was no traditional language that was being taught.
You know, funny enough, right now, we have schools that dress down for Valentine, dress down for Christmas carols, but we've not seen schools that say that on this day, come as you are. Like if you are a Kikuyu, come dressed with your culture, with your tribe, with your language, interact, show us you know. Because this way, these children from a young age, they will show other children what they know. Rather than being in school, they are given burgers and sausages. These kids seem render and then they're shocked. Because when they go to school that day, let the schools first embrace that. Like, it's dress down day. If you are a Kisii, come as a Kisii. If you are a Luya, come as a Luya. And we need you to speak your language, even if it's for 3-4 minutes, for us to understand. Present something in your tribe, so that your culture, you will learn your culture. It will even force these kids to want to learn more about their cultures. Yes.
I think I really agree with you. And it's very important for us to decolonize our mindset, because there has been this notion of modernization, whereby the fewer words I know about my language, especially the mother tongue, the higher I achieve the status quo, and which is quite dangerous. Why? Because in our culture, especially with the language, there's a lot of culture into it, all right? And the difference that we have in terms of the different languages that we have, the different ethnic groups that we have, that's where the beauty lies in, all right? And when we are talking about becoming a man, and especially with the current generation that we have in, there's a lot of identity crisis, right? And when you talk about matters to do with mental health and all that, most of them, they don't know how to deal with their issues, because that has been taken away. Remember what used to happen there before. Our great-grandparents, what they used to do in the evening, they used to sit around the fire and talk about pertinent issues, and especially challenges that the boys and the girls that are facing, the family is facing, but that has been taken away. And there's a lot of pride, you know, with guys being modernized, westernized and all that, but they don't know the danger that comes with it. So us getting to learn about our language, our mother tongue language, it's equally important. And this is why I really advocate, you know, for every other parent out there to ensure that their child, you know, gets to learn the mother tongue. Why? Because this is where they start to gain a lot of self-awareness, you know, really getting to understand who they are. And there won't be a lot of confusion, especially when it comes to the roles that we play. Most of these young men, they really don't know how to really conduct themselves as men. Most of our girls, you know, they are being brought some newlyweds, yeah? They are being brought some kuku, you know, chicken from the village, and they are putting the whole chicken without even removing the feathers, you know, in the in the sufuria. Why? Because it has not been instilled in them, all right? And this is why we need to go back to the roots. Remember what the reggae guys say: if you want to know where you are going, you know, you have to go back to your roots. And this is what is going to help us to have a better understanding and deal with the issues in a sober way.
I think you've captured it very well, and I will take you, ladies and gentlemen, in 1965,
yes.
Makerere Hill, Kampala, Makerere University. This issue we're discussing today was discussed at length by the eminent professors Jody Graff, John Ruganda. Can I continue?
This one,
thank you, brother.
You had a lot too much of men.
So, let me go to Makerere Hill. And the question, and I'll quote Jody Graff. Jody Graff says that languages grow and die like trees.
Oh.
And then Aristotle chimes and says that language is the mimesis of culture. What Kagundu is saying. So we have had this discussion in the university halls. It is high time, from 1965. And Professor Ali Mazrui, the Kenyan, had a big spat with Professor William Ochieng of Maseno University on language, culture, and ethnicity, on what role does it play. And this discussion, the discourse, was discussed by all these eminent professors in Makerere Hill. That's what spawned Ngugi wa Thiong'o to start writing in Gikuyu. That's what made Chinua Achebe write Things Fall Apart in Igbo and translated in English. So we have been trying to bring our local languages back. And I'm personally, from where I sit, I'm an advocate of culture. Number one, I believe in culture. I cherish the Luo culture and traditions. And my book, actually, I've told you before that I have a book which is
coming. We are
on
waiting.
Luo culture.
We need to support
And it really talks about from 3200 BC in Kemet to now. And I've talked about, I've had many people talk about languages, and I've said that if you look at, I'll give you a very simple language, and in Central Province, the Kikuyus, And I will tell you that, you know, when the Bantus came from Congo, they were not known as Eastern Bantus. They were known as Tagishu.
Tagishu.
Yes.
So we were not Bantus.
The whole tribe, which are the Kambas, the Luyas, the Kikuyus, they were one tribe known as Tagishu. The books don't tell you that.
Okay.
Culture tells you that. When you reach, you start splitting. So everyone starts getting his own identity.
Okay.
The Kikuyus decide to intermarry with the Okafi, the Maasai. And the Maasais teach them about God. And the Maasais get
the one in the mountain?
No. The word Ngai is from Enkai, which is Maasai, which is Enki from Sumerians.
Enki?
Yes.
From Sumerians?
Yes.
Okay.
I will also do my part.
You should do.
I will also do my part in culture.
You should actually have like history lessons. Like,
yeah.
Honestly.
So, why is this day important? The day is important because our cultures, we cannot allow them, the way I said geograph, we cannot let our languages die. So it is important for Kikuyus to propagate, and I've seen what is happening in Shiamas in Central Province, and I applaud the gentlemen who are bringing Shiamas back in the mountain. Okay. Because they are bringing back what the Kikuyu culture was meant to be. In Luo, we've never left our culture, and I advocate for that culture 100%. In Luyas, if you see the bullfighting among the Isuhas, it is cultural. It has to maintain the order of the day. And why all this rests in language? It is important to keep the authenticity of your language and sanctity of that language.
And I have a dream to add on that. I have a dream.
Yes.
So this is my dream in terms of how I see when we are celebrating some of these national days, we move away from just political speeches to asking ourselves, what makes us Kenyan? We have a day when we celebrate not just our constitution, but celebrating the Kenyan people. And you know how that would, the format it would take? I see a huge, we have the Uhuru Gardens, or the new ones. Are they called Uhuru Gardens?
Uhuru Gardens, yeah.
Where every tribe comes to showcase. This is what makes us Kisii. This is what makes us, and every year we are showcasing like different things. It's a big day, our food, everything. And we invite even every year we invite different, well, we can invite some tribes from, say, Nigeria, some tribes from Sumeria you're talking about, and we see how actually these things are evolving. I think that way we will be able to really propagate. And that's the dream I have, that we have a day when we ask, what makes us Kenyan? It is the 47 tribes.
Yes, the tribes is what makes us.
Yes, but do we know them? Do we have a forum where we can actually get to know them?
It is important to know them.
Yes.
And we have to know them.
Yeah.
And we have to know that the Western education was brought to kill our cultures. We must make our culture part of our education system. I think we move on to the next topic.
Okay.
Very fast. This week, something went on the social media which was almost sad. There was a certain bishop who was praying for the faithful and touching women inappropriately. And it caused a lot of hue and cry.
I'm sorry, but
it caused a lot of hue and cry. This Bishop Yohana, gentleman.
You mean
No, but,
No.
but can we start with, okay, as much as you want to say that you are saved and he's praying for you, are you stupid? Like, how do you get touched like that and you are assuming it's prayers? What form or what length of radicalization or what length of brainwash is that for you to accept that? Like,
didn't you see Shakahola people going to stab their kids
but
to
this
death?
one is, and who was holding the camera? I think that, I don't know why I have an issue so much with the one holding the camera and saying, amen, amen.
Someone was holding the
camera and saying amen, like agreeing to the prayers. So I don't know if the eyes were closed. They were not closed because the angle was good, so they were open. how do you allow, quote unquote, a man of God, because that's not a man of, but I feel like people don't read their Bibles, because if you read your Bible, you will understand that there are things that are not salvation. Like, no one prays for people like that. And what kind of brainwash is this? I wish they would brainwash us to have better things in life. How do you brainwash someone to that extent that they allow you to touch them like that? Because I feel like that woman rolling and turning, she was not for, should have kicked the pastor and gone out, but she didn't. She stood there and listening to the prayers and even confessing. Or is it a play? Like they were both acting in the process to get views.
But you know what?
Yeah.
I think this issue just takes us to exactly what I think I talked about last week. Who do you trust?
Yes.
Do you trust your pastor,
Or
the politician,
yeah.
the doctor, or the lawyer? Who do Kenyans trust?
They trust the religious leaders.
A lot of people, yeah, really trust.
But I'm hoping that's not
this
someone's
country,
wife.
by the way, this country is still so superstitious. So superstitious that even in Kisii, someone can just say that woman is a witch, and you
they ban
actually
them.
And you ban them.
You know, I think yesterday somebody was telling me of a story in the village of there's this lady who has like a shop, and that she throws Homer. I don't know.
It's not Homer, it's something. Okay, I'm a Kisii. I'm a Kisii. Actually, women intentionally put, like when you live, like for example, I take my son. If I'm going out with my son, the inner thing he's wearing, maybe an envelope or a vest, has to be upside down. Because apparently if this child goes into contact with this kid, they get a certain kind of sickness that the doctors cannot cure. You scrub with the Vaseline, and then whatever. If the child was near a towel, you'll start seeing towel coming from the skin. I've had that.
You know, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you know, Kenyans are so superstitious. A lot of, not all, but so superstitious. They believe in all these things that even a pastor is telling you have to touch your private parts. There's something there I need to remove. And you believe.
And you believe.
And you know, it's just not in Kenya alone. I think it's this. I think Africa, when it comes to religion, there was that pastor in South Africa.
Yes.
Who was what was he making people drink? He made people drink some things. This is in South Africa.
Yeah.
And I think some changa or something. Yeah. Anyway, on that note, somebody actually started a religion of drinkers in South Africa. I rest my comments.
What are you saying?
You know, it's very interesting, you know, to see such, you know, coming from men of God, okay? But this is where we need to draw the line between religiosity, mental health, and, you know, culture.
Yes.
Thinking of somebody who is actually not okay, you know, upstairs. And, you know, I heard him quote some verse, which are not verified, that for you to, you know, maybe remove those spirits and all that from the leg, you can't pour the oil on the head, okay? It has to be on the actual part, all right? But this is, it's a true indicator of where we are, especially as believers, right? And it tells you that most of the people are actually very helpless, and this is why they get to such length, right? You know, when we say that I'm a priest of the house, okay, and who should be at the head, you know, and you have found most of the families, especially the hubbies and the wives, getting into a lot of issues. Why? Because the wife is trusting, you know, the pastor more than the hubby, and they normally say that fear a lady, you know, who listens to their pastor, if not the bishop, more than you. Exactly, you know, because a lot of things happen. And especially in spaces whereby these men of the cloth, they really want to take advantage, especially for women and men who may not be in a space whereby they can make a critical decision for themselves, right? But that is such a sad thing, telling you that as a society, as a community, as a country, you know, we are in such an unwanting, you know, situation whereby we can get to such length, you know, especially whereby we can allow these people to take advantage of us. But look at it, you know, this lady, why do we get to allow that man of the cloth to get to even your personal space? Because this is where boundaries should come in, okay? If I can't allow my brother to get to such an extent, why do I allow them to get to such an extent? But that tells you that most of the people out there are actually so helpless, right? They believe that they can't make a prayer, you know, and they can't relate directly with their maker, okay? And this is where we also need to have that awareness that we also have a role to play. If I can be able to pray for myself, you know, and I'm happy when you talk about issues to do with culture. The Gikuyus, we have these old men that whenever they do the sacrifice, they'll pray, and it will start raining there and then, okay? Why can't we do it ourselves? And this is where we need to protect ourselves. We also need to separate matters to do with religion and mental health. And this is where I advocate for spirituality and not religiosity, okay? Because if I have a good relationship with my maker, then I don't think I need a third party, you know, to do such, you know, to intervene and all that. But if I have a good relationship with my maker, then I can actually pray and bless my people, bless my children, okay, and even ask for those miracles. You know, we're looking for miracles to happen just like the time of Moses and Abraham. Yet, even for us, we can be able to pray and things happen. Yet, we have given so much power to these people. And this is why we need to sober up and do things in the right way. Yeah.
I think you've captured it very well because, and I agree with you, you have to separate spirituality and religiosity because Karl Marx says religion is the opium of the world.
Yes.
Religion, not spirituality.
And it has contributed to the many
Opium of
wars,
the masses.
you know,
The masses, yes.
yeah, the wars that we have in the battles.
Yes.
Why are people fighting? Because of religion and not spirituality.
Not spirituality.
Yes.
Because if you are, and I always say, there's a book I always quote on this show most of the time, The Rational Path.
Yes, you quoted it last week.
Yes. If you, people must also read books which will empower them.
Exactly.
Which makes you realize what is law, what is religion, and what is philosophy, so that you know the whole concept which builds a man. I think we move on to the next topic because of time.
Okay, the next topic is a 4-day-old was left by a mom. A mom left the child with the father and went on to be married to a richer man. Yes. The sad part is the man was Nigerian. Yeah, the woman left the baby with the father. People are arguing that it's a good thing that she did not throw the baby away. Leaving the baby first is the mistake. A 4-day-old and went away because apparently the father of the child was poor.
Who said he was poor?
He went to a richer man.
She went to a richer man, but I don't think, yeah, I'll tell you something. As a mother myself, biologically, your body is wired such that you see that baby, you will not leave this baby.
Yeah.
So I think there's so many other things that may have happened. I would not actually want to blame this woman because by the time, let me tell you, by the time a woman is actually leaving a child, a 4-day-old baby, there is something within that relationship that cannot actually be explained. Especially the, you know, men leave, even they just like they don't even bother looking at their own children. But women, biologically, the way we are wired, something could have happened. She could be undergoing the stress disorder,
The trauma.
the trauma. And let me tell you, you look the women who actually go through the post-traumatic postpartum depression, they look at the children, even they want to kill that child. It's a disorder. So something happened with her like that, or it was so impossible perhaps for her to live with this man that for her she, like, I don't know how to explain, but I think it's postpartum depression.
It's postpartum.
Daktari.
You can't leave your child.
You can put postpartum, but did she meet this man 4 days earlier?
Let me tell you.
You know, I love the way you argue, and I love the fact that you think all girls think that way.
Yeah.
This Nairobi of ours, this city of ours, there are women who will give birth and throw the baby, and there's no postpartum. In this city of ours, let me remind you, this city of ours is
I forgot that part.
This city of ours.
It's not postpartum. No,
This city of ours. It's crazy.
For real, I've seen stories of kids being abandoned. I've seen women just walking out and, okay, seeing that, I would say that when I gave birth to my first child, I would have defined that as postpartum. And at some point when I saw my child being admitted, I was telling my mom, just stay there so that I can just walk out this room and breathe. It's not, I love my child, yes, I've just met my child, but can I just, mom, just sit there, I walk out and breathe. And I walked out and I breathed. But deep down in your mind, you know that you will always love that child no matter what. But there are women who don't do that. We've seen women who don't raise their babies at all. Like, at all.
It's an anomaly.
Like, I know I'm a mom, but I'm not going to raise my baby. I have a life. We've seen women who say that I'll not breastfeed because it will ruin my shape. People make such choices. Because this woman, for this woman to have left to go to another, if she left and went to her parents, or left and moved out alone.
Understandable.
Understandable. We'll say it's postpartum. But you left and went to a man. You didn't meet this man 4 days ago when you were giving birth, for you to have gone with a man. So some women don't have the capacity of the motherly instinct, either doesn't kick in on time, or it never kicks in, or it doesn't. But people are different. I always say that I can never leave my child even with their father. Like, I'm walking out of a marriage and then I'm leaving my children. I can never do that. But that is me. There are others who will say, how am I carrying this child for this man to be free? I have to live with the babies for you to suffer. Not knowing that the kids will suffer. Me, I'm just leaving you with the babies for you to suffer. So the woman made a wrong choice of leaving a 4-day-old. Considering this baby just depends on her entirely at that age.
Yeah, and sometimes it's economic factors. Sorry, I'll allow you to talk. I think it's economic factors.
Yes.
Because I just recently came from the village, my village, and I could see a lot of grandmothers looking after children. And what has happened is that in the past, it used to be the girls who are getting pregnant and bringing the children in the home. But now it's actually the sons who are bringing the children in the home, and because the girls have just gone away. So I think the girls are looking at it in terms of, you see, another man may not take you with a child,
yes,
but if I leave this child with the father, you can find even a woman to look after whatever, nakuachia. So it's economic factors.
Yes, it's economic, and that's why we are
Yes.
saying this woman just left because of money. The character, the father of the baby, didn't have enough finances to sustain the woman. But also, there are also many women out there, not all, who are basically in relationships for money. People get pregnant, and they get pregnant because they want to look for that money. Is a sort of insurance to keep you there. And if it goes bust, you leave the baby and move on to the next. Yeah.
You know, there's always a story behind everything.
Yeah.
And we, looking at it, you know, appreciating the journey, it's equally important. What has this young lady gone through during the entire pregnancy, you know, season, okay? But all that said and done, there's an element of even revenge that can come into the picture, whereby this particular lady wants to punish the young man, probably for something that they did, or you know, maybe how they handled them during their pregnancy. And you have seen most of them, you know, living so many young children to the days of even a newborn, you know. They have just given birth, and they'll put the kid at the door, and they just disappear. So it could be that the lady is also hurting in a way, okay, because probably they didn't have a very good experience with this particular young man. But the question that comes to mind would be, why now go to a rich man? And this is where we are saying that we get to relationships for different reasons. Probably she got into a relationship and realized that this is not the type, you know, or even the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And during her pregnancy journey, there was somebody who was giving her promises, you know, if you come to me, I'll take care of you. You know, you don't really have to come with the kid. The father is there, and you can be supporting from a distance. But let's be aware that people do things for different motives, okay? And it could be that, you know, it's not normal for a lady to leave out a child that they have given birth to. It's not really normal. So to me, there's always probably a new motive behind all this.
Okay, I think you've captured it very well. And you need to talk to many Nairobi girls because they are leaving their kids behind.
Yeah.
Many of them are leaving nowadays because the economic situation is not very, very favorable.
But there are many families that said that actually don't have children, and in a formal way, adoption can actually
be a better option.
And I think in Kenya there's something I think pending, and it's very difficult to adopt a child.
Very difficult to adopt, yes.
A child in Kenya. Those laws need to be looked into, because there's so many young women in distress, that they would give their child to a good family that is willing to look after that. And it's agreed earlier on. So you're pregnant, you want to give away your child, yes. And parents are found. So when that child is born, you don't even need to meet. You just, the child is, so we need to open up such avenues, because it is not only in Kenya where economic factors factor in when it comes to childbearing. Even in the US, in other continents, people have those problems. There's a formal way in which people can leave their children to a caring family.
I like that, because we need to have the best regards to life,
Yes.
Instead of terminating the pregnancy and all that. If we have a better option, especially when it comes to someone who can take care of the child, then I feel that that will give hope, especially to the unwanted pregnancies that may be there, whereby a lady is feeling that they are not ready enough, or even maybe you can think of a situation whereby it has been through, the pregnancy is through rape. And there could be a lot of hurt, especially for these young mothers, especially when they see this particular child, because it would be a constant trigger and reminder of that ordeal situation that they went through. So I feel what you are saying, it's very important that we should have better options. But we also have cultures that where a lady cannot move out and with a child. We have seen that, and they have to leave the child behind. So I think it's good that we look at it. The lawyers.
Yes.
Yes, and even
culturally, lawyers, even in the, when I was really, really young, I remember that we needed to travel with the chief's authority. So when we arrive, somebody in the homestead that we have arrived, the chief would know there's new children who've arrived, and you'd go and get a stamp. Wow. Yeah, you needed to have a travel permit. Children would not just travel like that. Yeah, so cultures are like, but that was, I don't know if it still was there. Was it there in your?
It is there. You see, it's control stealing of babies, and also people leaving kids unattended. Because traditionally kids are for the society, and it were used for many other things. So I think we come to a close to this discussion. Maybe as a rider, this week also saw the prolonged war battle of words between Naomi Campbell and our old Elsa Majimbo.
That's such a strange story.
Completely. But we are ending it. That one we'll discuss next week.
But there's something there. Why should we end it? Why not talk about it now?
Because of time.
And Naomi is claiming that she is the one behind Elsa's success. Elsa Majimbo. Success. But if you're talented, you're talented. She was the godmother. Or what's going on? That story is not, I'm not getting it. Or you don't just rise in Hollywood. You have sponsors. Or what's going on?
So the story is not storying.
Do you understand that story?
I don't.
Okay, let me tell you what happened. Elsa Majimbo, Naomi claimed to be the mentor of Elsa Majimbo.
And why not?
And Elsa
mentor is accepted.
Which is accepted. But Elsa also took it wrongly, insinuated Naomi was claiming to have made her, which is not true. Then, of course, you know Naomi has had issues with the relationships. So when she was insisting that Naomi was saying this about her, Naomi threatened and said, I will release the screenshots of you are asking me to help you with some old white men. And that's how that thing ended.
And that... oh my gosh.
Know your friends.
Oh my goodness.
Know your friends.
Well, so Elsa wanted to be introduced to?
Apparently, there are some white executives, older executives who are...
But first of all, let's start. Who is Naomi's baby daddy? Yeah, I've heard, like not heard, I've read online, the rumors, online, some Russian oligarch who is not young either.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's why
number one.
Elsa
Number
went there.
two, she was, the reason why I even got more interested in her is because she for a long time was a girlfriend of Flavio Briatore,
Yes.
the proprietor of Billionaires,
Formula One.
who is not a spring chicken.
That's
Literally.
the reason why.
Why Elsa went there to ask for help.
For help.
Yes, Elsa was just doing that because
But Lesa is
she
doing
was
very
desperate.
well. Did she use the word old?
She did not use spring chicken either.
Let's end this thing there.
Oh my goodness! Oh,
Look at the way you are shocked.
I am completely shocked. Because I watched this thing, she was slathering herself, and I'm like,
She always
stop!
flatters herself.
Stop!
She
It's
always
like
does
you're gonna
that.
drip.
She always does that. Like in everything, and so many products.
That's a
today.
prize of celebrity. That's a prize of showbiz.
Now
That's
listen,
a prize of,
but do you realize we are talking about her? When we could have been talking about how our taxes are high and that conversation is low, like our taxes. Whatever. We have talked about her,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
my parting shot to that thing is that if you go to Hollywood, do not claim to be innocent. Just do your thing.
And my parting shot, if you go to any supermarket today or tomorrow, there's Samantha Wines. Listen, let's buy Kenya, right? Yeah? And we can still export 2,500 nurses.
Yes.
No, we need to spread the word around. Apparently, 2,500 vacancies. I just hope we have enough nurses. Eh? But
Yeah.
please apply.
Only that I don't always agree with it.
And
With the what?
And my parting shot is I have been inspired by the culture thing. By the way, I'm going to be one of those parents that are going to instill culture in the kids. And even in the Young magazine, I am going to solely be doing culture content so
You know,
much.
I have an idea for you. Give a prize every month, a child who will write for you a letter in their language.
Wow.
Mother tongue.
We're
Mother
doing that.
tongue,
We're doing that. Yes. And also, don't forget, if you've not read my books, you're not a reader. Thank you so much.
Yes, as much as one man can actually contribute to the continuation, of our generation, we really need to take care of ourselves as men. And that's why becoming a man is a gift for every man out there. Ensure that you get yourself a copy. You can get through 0722 450045. I work with Mind Care Africa, based in Thika. Come for therapy. Let's get sorted out. Thank you very much.
Very interesting.
Yes.
To become a man.
Yes.
That book, I have to read it. Of course, I love books.
Thank you, thank you.
And for our viewers there, you must also read Artist. You wanna? I completed.
You completed the book.
Where?
And where is it not here?
I don't know where I'm waiting for. the book
please
for the longest.
bring.
Where is it?
I'll get you the book. Don't worry. It has been real. It has been kept it real this morning. Of course, this evening. It's Let's Be Real. Of course, we tackled each and every topic which you would like to hear. And if you want to hear more from us, just write the topic you want us to discuss. We have a therapist in our midst who can help you. We have, of course, people who are trying to write culture magazines and books. And of course, our Dr. C here. It's
Oh,